If Romanticism is like dating before marriage, Neoclassicism is like a strict arranged marriage. I'm Dr. Jean, and today we talk about Neoclassicism. If you are a student or professor of English literature, please subscribe to this channel because I'll be releasing videos that make literary criticism and theory fun and memorable. In a previous video, I had talked about the Romanticism of Wordsworth and Coleridge. Today, I talk about my modern takeaways from Neoclassicism. If Romanticism is like a visionary leader, a pioneer who breaks all rules and boundaries and goes beyond, Neoclassicism is like a strict manager who sticks to the rules and structures and the status quo. If Romanticism is about emotions, beauty, nature, music, and lyricism, Neoclassicism is like a smirky, judgmental satire. If Romanticism is like the irrepressible id in psychoanalysis, Neoclassicism is like the super controlling superego. If Romanticism is like courtship before marriage, Neoclassicism is like a restrained and disciplined arranged marriage. The neoclassical period in English literature dates from 1660 to the late 1700s. It is represented by poets like Alexander Pope, John Dryden, Samuel Johnson, and Joseph Addison. The neoclassical age is also known as the Augustan age or the age of reason. The English writers believed that the neoclassical age was like the glorious age of the Roman Emperor Augustus, the age of Virgil and the age of Ovid. Just like the neoclassicals of the 17th century was inspired by the ancient Greek and Roman period, the English Renaissance of the 16th century was also inspired by the ancient Greeks and Romans. But there's one major difference. While the English Renaissance was romantic and imaginative, neoclassicals were strict and restrained. Since the neoclassicals were inspired by science and the Enlightenment, they believed strongly in reason. And so the neoclassical age is also known as the age of reason. Alexander Pope best encapsulates this age through his words in the essay on criticism. Be Homer's works your study and delight, read them by day and meditate by night. Learn hence, for ancient rules are just esteem. Pope equated the laws of nature with the laws of the universe and the ancient rules. So according to him, those rules of the old were discovered, not devised. Nature still, but nature methodized. It is interesting to note how the neoclassical Alexander Pope and the romantic William Wordsworth both described the scientist Isaac Newton. Pope described Isaac Newton as a discoverer of the laws of the universe, just like his revered ancient masters. Pope's epitaph on Newton goes, "Nature and nature's laws lay hid in night. God said, 'Let Newton be,' and all was light." The romantic Wordsworth, on the other hand, imagines Isaac Newton as a lonely romantic explorer and pioneer in his prelude. He considers Newton as a mind forever voyaging through strange seas of thought alone. So what are the reasons for the rise of neoclassicism? Britain was establishing itself as an empire. It was time it cultivated its cultural and aesthetic sensibilities. So what better models than the ancients? So in comedy, the neoclassicals followed Plautus and Terence. In tragedy, they followed Seneca. In epic and pastoral, they followed Virgil. In satire, they followed Juvenal. And for literary taste and criticism in general, they followed Horace's Ars Poetica. In the Spectator papers, Joseph Addison and Richard Steele gave advice to the middle class on sophisticated sensibilities. Their aim was to enliven morality with wit and to temper wit with morality. Neoclassicism was also about logic and reason because it was very close to the Enlightenment and the age of science. John Dryden's essay of dramatic poesy mimics the reasonable discussions and debates of the coffee houses. In it, four men are discussing the merits and demerits of the ancient and modern writers. Here, respect was given not to nobility and inheritance, but to the person who was the most rational and reasonable. In short, neoclassicism is about follow the ancients, don't innovate. Be correct. Be reasonable, not imaginative. Don't overreach. Stay within your limits. It can be very teachy and preachy like the superego, and very disciplined and restrained like an arranged marriage. It can seem very boring and outdated. So, are there any modern takeaways from Neoclassicism?
I have takeaways from everything. So here are my modern takeaways from Neoclassicism.
Pope quotes. Do you know that the second most quoted poet in English literature after William Shakespeare is a neoclassical poet? Who is he? He is Alexander Pope. Think. To err is human, to forgive divine. A little learning is a dangerous thing. The proper study of mankind is man. Fools rush in where angels fear to tread. The eternal sunshine of a spotless mind. All these lines are from Alexander Pope. The Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind is a 2004 movie featuring Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet.
Hi.
Sorry?
I just said hi.
So Alexander Pope's lines are also taken by Hollywood. As a perfect classicist, Alexander Pope is a master of rhyme, pattern and order. He is a master of the heroic couplet, which is 2 rhyming lines in iambic pentameter. For example, true wit is nature to advantage dressed, what oft was thought but never so well expressed. Pope is also master of antithesis, which is parallelly opposing phrases. In the quote on true wit being nature to advantage dressed, often is the antithesis or opposite of never. Thought is the antithesis of well expressed. Take this quote by Alexander Pope. To err is human, to forgive divine. Here, err opposes forgive and human opposes divine. Take this other quote. Charms strike the sight, but merit wins the soul. There are 3 antitheses in this line. Superficial charms oppose substantial merit. Strike and miss opposes win completely. Superficial sight opposes the deeper soul. So as you can see, Alexander Pope is a master of order and rhyme and parallelism and antithesis. He is a master neoclassicist. So it is very easy to see why he is so often quoted. While Alexander Pope believed in following nature and the ancients to the dot, his contemporaries like John Dryden and Samuel Johnson were not so obedient. They supported the rule-breaking William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare established the tragicomedy, which is neither a complete tragedy like Seneca's nor a comedy like Plautus's. It mixes both together like a mongrel creation. In fact, the prefix neo in neoclassicism means new or with a twist.
I like this follow the fathers with a twist.
Every generation has to reinvent themselves or go farther than their parents. While I would be very comfortable and happy if my child followed in my footsteps, I must remind myself constantly of Khalil Gibran's quote. Your children are not your children, but life's longing for itself. So I can give her my love, but I cannot give her my thoughts because she will have her own thoughts.
Which, by the way, is a very romantic idea of fierce independence.
The Instagram business strategist Vanessa Love talks about something similar when she disagreed with her parents on matters of career choice and entrepreneurship. She chose to be an entrepreneur while her parents were employees. So she says, you want to respect your parents, but if you want to be rich, don't listen to your parents. Unless they themselves are rich. So, follow your fathers with a twist. Go farther than your fathers. Reinvent yourself for today's time. That's what neoclassicism is all about. Tell me in the comments, what do you agree with your parents and what do you disagree about? What is your follow your father with a twist? Head over heart, logic over love. In a previous video on Romanticism, I had talked about following your heart, about emotions and feeling and inspiration and joy and how all of them are very important for our mental and physical well-being. I'll put a link up here for you to watch that video. We do want inspiration, hope and joy when we set out on a new project, a new relationship, a new friendship. But continuing with it requires steady old discipline and commitment. And neoclassicism is all about staying within your limits, logic and reason. Because here's the thing, inspiration can be very fleeting. In the previous video, I have talked about Wordsworth's definition of poetry. He talks about spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings recollected in tranquility.
The second part actually contradicts the first part.
So even the romantic Wordsworth talks about editing out that first spontaneous rush of feelings to temper your emotions with cool and rational editing. He recollects his emotions in a tranquil and calm mood and then writes his poetry. A lot of editing and craftsmanship is required after the first rush of feelings. Pope puts it beautifully. True ease in writing comes from art, not chance. They move easiest who have learned to dance. Otherwise, it might end up like the first and last lines of James Joyce's Finnegan's Wake, which is a rubble of stream of consciousness. Away, alone, alast, aloud, along the river run. Any project or relationship, the first rush of inspiration and hope gives way to routine and boredom. That's where commitment and discipline has to kick in. Often, too many romantic hopes and expectations can actually ruin a relationship. There's a beautiful video by the School of Life called How Romanticism Ruined Love. I'll put a link in the description below. Please watch it. So remember, head over heart, logic over love. But, and this could be a takeaway, T.S. Eliot rephrased it in a very beautiful way through his concept called unification of sensibility. The unification of the right brain and the left brain, of feeling and thinking, of Romanticism and Neoclassicism. In his essay, The Metaphysical Poets, T.S. Eliot talks about the unification of sensibility in certain poets. Though I do not agree with his choice of poets, the concept of unification of sensibility is a good one, if it does exist, because it has the best of both worlds, Romanticism and Neoclassicism. So what was your biggest takeaway from Neoclassicism? Was it the Pope quotes? Or was it follow your fathers with a twist? Or was it head over heart and logic over love? Or was it T.S. Eliot's unification of sensibility, which has the best of both worlds, Romanticism and Neoclassicism, of feeling and thinking? Let me know in the comments below. Please watch my next week's video on Dr. Samuel Johnson's Preface to Shakespeare. In the meantime, please watch my video on Romanticism and Philip Sidney's Apology for Poetry.